Captain Sarah Chen sat in her command chair on the bridge of the UES Defiance. The ship was flying through the dark space near the outer rim of the galaxy. Her crew was doing their normal work. Some were checking the ship's systems. Others were looking at star maps. It was a quiet day. Sarah had short black hair and wore a blue uniform with captain's bars on her shoulders. She had been in space for 10 years. She liked the peace of deep space. But she was always ready for trouble. The communication officer, Lieutenant Jake Morrison, was a young man with red hair. He sat at his station listening to radio signals from across the galaxy. Most of the time, he heard nothing important. Ships talking to each other, trade reports, or their warnings for planets. But today was different. Jake suddenly sat up straight in his chair. His face went pale. "Captain," he said in a worried voice, "I'm getting a distress signal." Sarah turned to look at him. "What kind of signal?" Jake put his hands on his headphones and listened carefully. "It's alien, ma'am, not human. The computer's trying to translate it now." The ship's alien expert was Zeph. He was a tall, thin creature with gray skin and 4 arms. His people had joined the Galactic Council 50 years ago. He worked with humans to help them understand other alien races. Zeph walked over to Jake's station with his long legs. "Let me hear it," Zeph said. His voice was soft and musical. Jake played the signal through the bridge speakers. Strange sounds filled the air. High-pitched noises mixed with clicking sounds. The computer worked to change the alien words into English. After a few seconds, a mechanical voice began to speak. "Help us. Please help us. We are under attack. Our ships are being destroyed. They are taking our people. Anyone who can hear this, please help us." Sarah felt her heart beat faster. Who is sending this? Zeph's 4 eyes went wide. These are Velari voices. "Captain, the Velari are peaceful traders. They travel through space selling goods. They have no weapons, no military." The distress call kept playing. "This is Trade Captain Zilk of the Merchant Fleet Golden Wing. We are at coordinates 247.8 by 156.3 in the Kepler sector. Krillian raiders are attacking us. We cannot fight back. Our ships are not made for war. Please, someone help us." Jake looked at the captain. "Ma'am, those coordinates are only 2 hours away at full speed." Zeph made a worried sound. "Captain Chen, the Krillians are very dangerous. They are warriors who attack weak species. They take prisoners and sell them as slaves. No one fights the Krillians." Sarah stood up from her chair.
"What do you mean?"
"No one fights them? The other races in the galaxy fear them too much," Zeph explained. "When Krillians attack, most species just run away or surrender. The Krillians have been doing this for hundreds of years." Sarah walked to the main screen. It showed a map of nearby space. She could see the coordinates where the Velari ships were being attacked. "How many Velari ships are there?" Jake checked his computer. "The signal mentions 12 trade ships, Captain. Families live on those ships. Maybe 3,000 people total. And how many Krillian ships?" Zeph looked nervous. "Usually they attack with 6 to 8 warships." "Which Krillian ship has heavy weapons and shields? 1 Krillian warship could destroy 5 normal ships easily." The distress call played again. This time, the voice sounded more scared. "They have taken the swift current. They are boarding the Star Dancer now. We can see them taking our people. Please, if anyone hears this, we need help. Our children are on these ships." Sarah felt anger growing in her chest. She had heard about the Krillians before. They were bullies who picked on weaker species. They took prisoners and sold them to other bad aliens. The galaxy was full of peaceful races who could not defend themselves. "Captain," said Commander Rick Torres, her second in command. He was a big man with a thick beard. "What are your orders?" Zeph moved closer to Sarah. "Captain, I must tell you something important. Humans are new to this galaxy. You do not understand how dangerous the Krillians are. They have destroyed entire planets. Other species have learned not to interfere when Krillians attack." Sarah looked at Zeph with hard eyes. "So everyone just lets them take innocent people?" "Yes," Zeph said sadly. "It is the way things are. The strong take from the weak." Yeah, the Galactic Council makes laws, but they do not enforce them when it comes to species like the Krillians. Sarah turned to her crew. Every human on the bridge was looking at her. She could see what they were thinking. They all knew what the right thing to do was. "Helm," Sarah said to the pilot. "Set course for those coordinates. Maximum speed." The pilot, a woman named Lisa Parks, smiled. "Yes, Captain." Course laden, Zeph's eyes went even wider. "Captain, you cannot be serious. The Defiance is just one ship. We'll be destroyed." Sarah sat back down in her captain's chair. "Maybe, but we're not going to let innocent people be taken as slaves while we watch." "But the Galactic Council will be angry," Zeph said. "They do not like it when new species interfere in established conflicts." Commander Torres laughed. "The Galactic Council can file a complaint." Sarah pressed a button on her chair. Her voice went out to the entire ship. "All hands, this is the captain. We have received a distress call from peaceful aliens under attack by raiders. We are going to help them. Battle stations." Alarms began to sound throughout the ship. The lights on the bridge turned red. Crew members ran to their positions. The ship's weapons began to power up. Zeb shook his head. "You humans do not understand. This is not how things work in this galaxy. You are supposed to follow the rules." Sarah looked at him. "And maybe it's time someone changed the rules." The Defiance turned toward the Kepler sector and jumped to faster than light speed. Behind them, space returned to darkness. Ahead of them, a battle was waiting. The used Defiance dropped out of faster than light speed at the edge of the Kepler sector. Captain Sarah Chen looked at the main screen and felt sick. The scene in front of them was horrible. 12 Valari trade ships floated in space. Most of them were damaged. Some had holes burned through their hulls. 3 ships were completely destroyed, just floating pieces of metal and debris. The beautiful painted designs on the Valari ships were now covered in burn marks and scorch holes. 8 large Krillian warships moved between the damaged trade vessels like sharks hunting fish. The Krillian ships were dark gray and covered in weapon turrets. They looked like flying fortresses built only for war. "God," whispered Commander Torres. "They're tearing them apart." Lieutenant Morrison was listening to radio signals. "Captain, I'm picking up Valari voices. They're begging the Krillians to stop. They're offering to give them all their cargo." On the screen, they could see small Krillian fighters flying back and forth between the ships. The fighters were carrying something that looked like large metal containers. Zeph pointed at the containers with one of his 4 arms. "Those are prisoner pods, Captain. Krillians are taking Valari people and putting them in those containers. They will sell them as slaves to other species." Sarah's hands tightened into fists. "How many people have they taken?" Unknown said. "Morrison. But I'm reading at least 40 Krillian fighters carrying pods back to the main ships." The tactical officer, Lieutenant Kim Walsh, was studying the Krillian warships on her computer. "Captain, each Krillian ship is 3 times bigger than us. They have heavy plasma cannons and energy shields. Our weapons might not even scratch them." Sarah looked at her crew. Every face showed the same anger she felt. These were innocent people being hurt by bullies. One of the Krillian ships noticed the Defiance. A message came through on the communication system. The voice was deep and harsh, like rocks grinding together. "Unknown vessel. This is Krillian. War Commander Thask. You will leave this area immediately. This is Krillian business. Any interference will result in your destruction." Sarah stood up. "Open a channel." Morrison nodded. "Channel open, Captain." Sarah spoke in a calm, clear voice. "This is Captain Sarah Chen of the United Earth ship Defiance. Release the prisoners immediately and withdraw from this system." There was silence for a moment, and harsh laughter came through the speakers. "Humans," the Krillian commander said. "We have heard of your weak species. You are new to this galaxy and do not understand how things work. The Valari are now Krillian property. Leave now or we will add your ship to our collection." Sarah smiled, but it was not a friendly smile. "I'm afraid I can't do that." "Then you will die with the rest of these insects," Commander Thask said. The communication ended. Zeph was shaking. "Captain, please reconsider. The Krillians have never been defeated in battle. No species has ever successfully fought them." Sarah turned to Lieutenant Walsh. "What's our tactical situation?" Walsh looked at her computer screen. "We have nuclear torpedoes, plasma cannons, and a full fighter squadron. The Krillians have us outnumbered 8-1.
Oh, what about our fighters? At 12 fighters against their 40?
Walsh said.
Captain.
"But Captain, our fighters are faster and more maneuverable." Sarah sat back down. "All right, people. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to hit them hard and fast. Ow. No warning shots. No mercy. These aliens think they can take innocent people as slaves. It's time to show them they're wrong." Commander Torres smiled. "What are your orders, Captain?" "Launch all fighters. Target their engines first, then their weapons. Use nuclear torpedoes. On their biggest ships. And remember, we're not here to have a fair fight. We're here to win." The bridge crew moved quickly. Sarah could hear the launch bay doors opening. 12 human fighters shot out of the Defiance like angry wasps. The Krillians saw the fighters coming. Ships began to turn toward the Defiance. But they moved slowly like they had all the time in the world. "They're not taking us seriously," observed Torres. "Good," Sarah said. "Fire nuclear torpedoes. All tubes." 6 bright streaks of light shot from the Defiance toward the nearest Krillian warship. The Krillians finally realized the humans were actually attacking them and began to move their ships faster. But it was too late. The nuclear torpedoes hit the first Krillian ship. The explosion was so bright it lit up the entire battle area. When the light faded, the Krillian warship was gone. Just pieces of metal floating in space. The other Krillian ships stopped moving. For a moment, nobody did anything. The Krillians couldn't believe what they had just seen. Commander Thazik's voice came over the radio again. But this time he didn't. "Sound confident? Impossible. What kind of weapons are those?" Sarah didn't answer. Instead, she gave more orders. "Fighters, attack pattern Delta. Target their weapon systems. Don't let them shoot back." The human fighters swarmed around the Krillian ships like angry bees. They were much faster than the Krillian fighters. The human pilots used hit-and-run tactics, shooting at the big ships and then flying away before the Krillians could shoot back. Another Krillian ship exploded as more nuclear torpedoes found their target. "This is impossible," Thask said over the radio. "No species fights like this. You're supposed to surrender when you see you're outnumbered." Sarah pressed the communication button. "We don't surrender to bullies." 2 more Krillian ships were damaged badly. Their weapons stopped working. 1 ship was spinning out of control. The remaining Krillian ships began to retreat, but Sarah wasn't done. "Don't let them escape," she ordered. "They still have prisoners." The Defiance chased after the fleeing Krillian ships. The human fighters stayed close, ready to attack again. Commander Thaz sent one final message. "You don't understand what you've done, humans. The Krillian Empire will remember this. We will return with more ships." Sarah smiled. "We'll be waiting." 3 Krillian warships managed to escape. 5 were destroyed or too damaged to fight. Most importantly, they left behind the prisoner pods. Containing the captured Valari, the battle was over. But Sarah knew this was just the beginning. 3 days after the battle, Captain Sarah Chen stood in a huge room on the Galactic Council station. The room was shaped like a circle with hundreds of seats for different alien species. Most of the seats were filled, representatives from across the galaxy had come to hear about what the humans had done. Sarah wore her best uniform. Commander Torres stood beside her, along with Zeph, who looked very nervous. In the center of the room was a raised platform where Sarah would have to speak. The council leader was a tall alien called Prime Minister Keth. He had purple skin and 6 legs like a spider. His voice was deep and serious.
"Captain Chen Prime."
Minister Keth said, "You are here because your species has caused great concern throughout the galaxy. 3 days ago, you attacked Krillian forces without permission from this council." Sarah looked around the room. She could see hundreds of alien faces staring at her. Some looked angry, others looked scared. A few looked curious. "Prime Minister," Sarah said, "we responded to a distress call from innocent people under attack." An alien with blue skin and tentacles for arms stood up. "I am Representative Vosh from the Aquatic Federation. Captain Chen, the Krillians have been part of this galaxy for over 500 years. No one attacks them. It is too dangerous. Another alien spoke up. This one looked like a giant insect with compound eyes. I am Speaker Hive Queen Zack. Krillians have rules. They only attack species that enter their territory or interfere with their business. Valari knew the risks of traveling through that sector. Sarah felt anger growing in her chest. So you're saying it's okay for the Krillians to take innocent people as slaves? The room became very quiet. Prime Minister Keth made a sound like clearing his throat. Captain Chen, you do not understand galactic politics. The Krillians provide a service. They keep weaker species from traveling in dangerous areas. Sometimes they take compensation for this service. Compensation? Sarah said loudly. You mean stealing people and selling them as slaves? An alien that looked like a walking tree stood up. I am Root Speaker Thalon from the Forest Worlds. Captain, your species is very young. You have been in space for less than 100 years. You do not understand how things work here. Commander Torres stepped forward. Maybe you can explain it to us. Root Speaker Thalon's leaves rustled. In this galaxy, the strong rule the weak. It has always been this way. Species like the Krillians maintain order by showing what happens to those who do not follow the rules. Sarah couldn't believe what she was hearing. You're talking about bullies who hurt innocent people? Representative Vosh waved his tentacles. You humans use such emotional words. Krillians are simply more evolved for warfare. They have earned their position through strength. And what about the Valari? Sarah asked. What did they do to deserve being attacked? Prime Minister Keth spoke again. The Valari chose to travel through dangerous space. They accepted the risk. Sarah looked around the room again. She realized something terrible. All these alien species were afraid. They'd been living in fear for so long that they thought it was normal. How many of you have been attacked by the Krillians? Sarah asked. Many aliens looked at the floor. A few raised their hands or tentacles or claws. And how many of you have family members who were taken by the Krillians? More hands went up. The room was very quiet now, and small alien in the back stood up. She had gray skin and big black eyes. I am Citizen Mira from the mining colonies. The Krillians took my brother 10 years ago. They said our mining operation was in their territory. We had to pay them, or they would take more people. Another alien spoke. The Krillians took tribute from our trading fleet last year. We gave them half our cargo so they would not hurt our crew. More and more aliens began to speak. They told stories about Krillian attacks, about family members taken as slaves, about whole colonies forced to pay tribute to avoid being destroyed. Sarah listened to all the stories. Then she spoke in a loud, clear voice. You've all been living like this for hundreds of years. You've accepted that the strong can hurt the weak. You've made peace with bullies because you're afraid to fight back. Prime Minister Keth hit his desk with something that made a loud sound. Captain Chen, you will not lecture this council. Your species destroyed 5 Krillian warships. Do you understand what this means? It means we won, Sarah said simply. Room exploded with noise. Aliens were talking loudly to each other. Some were making angry sounds. Others seemed excited. Representative Vosh shouted over the noise. You don't understand. The Krillians will be angry. They will attack more species. Now, they will want revenge. Sarah smiled. Let them try. Speaker Hive Queen Zack made a buzzing sound. Your ship is only one vessel. The Krillians have hundreds of warships. They will crush you. Maybe, Sarah said. But they'll know they were in a fight. Alien Sarah, hadn't seen before, stood up. He was tall and thin with silver skin. I am Admiral Nexus from the Stellar Republic. Captain Chen, your tactics in the battle were ... unusual. You used nuclear weapons without warning. You targeted civilian vessels carrying prisoners. Sarah looked at him. Those weren't civilian vessels. They were warships carrying stolen people. And we gave them a warning, told them to release the prisoners. But you didn't follow standard galactic combat procedures, Admiral Nexus said. You're supposed to declare your intentions, give multiple warnings, and allow time for negotiation. Commander Torres laughed. While innocent people get taken as slaves, Prime Minister Keth spoke again. Captain Chen, Your species' approach to warfare is too aggressive. You fight like... ... He paused, looking for the right words. Like what? Sarah asked. Like you fight to win, he said finally. Sarah looked around the room one more time. She saw hundreds of alien faces. Most of them looked scared or confused, but a few looked interested. A few looked hopeful. Prime Minister Sarah said, "Maybe that's the problem. Maybe you've forgotten how to fight to win. Maybe you've forgotten that some things are worth fighting for." The room was quiet again. Sarah could see that her words had made some aliens think. "The Valari people we rescued are safe now," Sarah continued. "Their families are back together. Their children are free. That's what matters to us." She turned and began to walk toward the door. Commander Torres and Zeph followed her as they reached the exit. Prime Minister Keth called out, "Captain Chen, what will you do when the Krillians come for revenge?" Sarah stopped and looked back. "We'll be ready for them." Outside the council chamber, news of the human speech was already spreading across the galaxy. For the first time in centuries, some species were starting to think that maybe the Krillians could be beaten. Maybe the strong didn't always have to rule the weak. Maybe it was time for things to change. 2 weeks after the Galactic Council meeting, the Krillian Empire's largest war fleet appeared at the edge of human space. War Admiral Kozak commanded over 300 warships. He was the most feared Krillian warrior in the galaxy. His black armor was covered in marks, showing all the species he had conquered. Admiral Kozak stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Dark Thunder. Around him, his officers prepared for what they thought would be an easy victory. The Krillians had never lost a major battle. They expected to crush the humans quickly and teach the galaxy a lesson. "How many human ships are we facing?" Admiral Kozak asked his tactical officer. "Our scouts report only 50 human vessels, Admiral," the officer replied. "They are spread out across 3 star systems." Admiral Kozak laughed. 50 ships against 300. These humans are either very brave or very stupid. On the human side, Admiral Patricia Cross commanded the defense of Earth's outer colonies from her flagship, the UES Thunder. She was a small woman with gray hair, but she had fought in more space battles than any other human alive. Admiral Cross studied the tactical display in her command center. Red dots showed the Krillian fleet moving toward human space. Blue dots showed human ships scattered across the region, Barl said. Captain Mike Davis, her tactical officer, "The Krillians are moving in a standard attack formation. They're keeping their fleet together." Admiral Cross smiled. "Good. That's exactly what we want them to do." The Krillian fleet entered the first human system, expecting to find a few human ships waiting to fight. Instead, they found empty space. No ships, no stations, nothing but asteroids and planets. "Where are they?" Admiral Kozak demanded. His sensor officer checked his instruments. "Admiral, I'm not detecting any human ships in this system." "Impossible. Our intelligence said they had ships here." Suddenly, explosions erupted all around the Krillian fleet. Hidden mines had been floating in space, disguised as space rocks. 20 Krillian ships were damaged before they knew what was happening. "Mines?" someone shouted. "They've mined the whole system." Admiral Kozak was angry, but not worried. "Clever, but not enough to stop us. Continue forward." The Krillian fleet moved carefully through the minefield. More explosions damaged several ships, but the fleet was too large to be stopped by mines alone. As they reached the center of the system, human ships suddenly appeared from behind asteroids and moons. The humans had been hiding, waiting for the perfect moment to attack. Captain Sarah Chen, now commanding a small battle group, led the first wave of attacks. Her ships came out of hiding and fired nuclear torpedoes at the Krillian fleet. "Surprise," she said into her radio. The human ships hit hard and then disappeared again, hiding behind asteroids before the Krillians could shoot back. This wasn't the kind of honorable battle the Krillians were used to. The humans were fighting like guerrilla warriors. "Cowards," Admiral Kozak shouted. "Come out and fight like warriors." But the humans didn't come out. They kept hitting and running.
Ow.
More Krillian ships were damaged. Some were destroyed. The Krillians couldn't fight an enemy they couldn't see. Admiral Kozak ordered his fleet to move to the next system. We'll find their main force and destroy them properly. In the second system, the same thing happened. Mines. Hidden human ships. Hit-and-run attacks. The Krillians were getting frustrated and angry. They had lost 60 ships already, and they still hadn't fought a real battle. This is not how warfare works. Admiral Kozak complained to his officers. They're supposed to meet us in open space and fight with honor. His intelligence officer spoke up nervously. Admiral, maybe the humans don't understand proper military conduct. Then we'll teach them, Admiral, Kozak said. But when they reached the third system, things got worse for the Krillians. This time, the humans didn't just use hit-and-run tactics. They used something much worse. 3 damaged human ships came toward the Krillian fleet. They were broadcasting surrender signals. The ships looked like they were trying to give up. Finally, Admiral Kozak said, "Bring them aboard for questioning." But as the human ships got close to the Krillian flagship, they suddenly exploded. The explosions were nuclear. 3 human ships had been turned into massive bombs. The Dark Thunder was badly damaged. Admiral Kozak was thrown to the floor. Half his bridge crew was dead or wounded. They killed themselves to hurt us, he said in shock. What kind of species does that? His surviving officers looked terrified. No species in the galaxy fought like this. The humans didn't just fight to win. They fought like they didn't care if they died, as long as they took their enemies with them. More human ships appeared. But this time they didn't run away after attacking. They came straight at the Krillian ships, shooting everything they had. Some human ships were destroyed, but they kept fighting until the end. One human captain rammed his damaged ship directly into a Krillian cruiser. Both ships exploded in a bright flash. Another human ship, with its engines failing, crashed into a group of Krillian fighters. The pilot could have escaped, but instead, he chose to take as many enemies with him as possible. The Krillians had never seen anything like this. They were used to enemies who surrendered when things got difficult. They were used to fighting species who valued their own lives more than victory.
Admiral,
His communication officer said with a shaking voice, "We're receiving a message from the human fleet." "Put it through," Admiral Kozak said. A human voice came over the radio. It was calm and cold. "This is Admiral Kraus of the human fleet. You came to our space to hurt innocent people. You will leave now, or we will destroy every one of your ships." Admiral Kozak tried to sound confident. "You cannot defeat us. We still have more ships." "Then you, maybe," Admiral Cross replied. "But ask yourself this question. How many of your warriors are willing to die today? Because all of mine are?" Admiral Kozak looked around his damaged bridge. He looked at his surviving officers. They all had the same expression on their faces. Fear. For the first time in Krillian history, they had found an enemy that scared them. The humans didn't fight for territory or profit. They fought like death itself. "Admiral," his tactical officer whispered, "we've lost over half our fleet. If we stay here, they'll kill us all." Admiral Kozak felt something he had never felt before. He felt afraid. "Retreat," he said quietly. "Sir, retreat," he shouted. "All ships, withdraw from human space immediately." The surviving Krillian ships turned around and fled. Behind them, the human ships watched them go but didn't chase them, as the Krillian fleet limped back to their own territory. Admiral Kozak sent a message that would change the galaxy forever. "This is War Admiral Kozak to all Krillian forces. Avoid human space. These humans, they don't fight like any species we've ever faced. They fight like demons. They fight like death itself." The message spread across the galaxy in hours. Mighty Krillian Empire, undefeated for centuries, had been beaten by the humans, and everyone in the galaxy heard the fear in Admiral Kozak's voice. 6 months after the Krillian defeat, the galaxy was a very different place. Captain Sarah Chen stood on the observation deck of the new human space station called Haven. Through the large windows, she could see ships from dozens of different species coming and going. The station was built near the edge of human space, but it wasn't just for humans. Species from across the galaxy came here to trade, to talk, and to ask for help. Most importantly, they came because they felt safe. Commander Torres walked up beside Sarah. He was now Admiral Torres, in charge of the new human protection fleet. "The morning reports, Captain," he said, handing her a datapad. Sarah read through the reports. 3 more species had asked to join the Human Protection Alliance. The Krillian Empire had pulled back to their core worlds and hadn't attacked anyone in months. Pirate attacks across the galaxy were down by 70%. "Hard to believe how much has changed," Sarah said. Through the window, they could see a group of Valari trade ships preparing to leave the station. The same species that had been helpless victims 6 months ago were now traveling freely through space. Human escort ships would go with them to make sure they stayed safe. Zeph approached them from across the observation deck. The four-armed alien looked much happier than he had in the past. "Captain Chen, we just received another request for protection. The peaceful garden worlds want human ships to patrol their system." Sarah nodded. "How many requests is that this week?" 15, Zeph replied. "And Captain, I've been thinking about something. When I first met you humans, I thought you were too violent. Now I understand something important. What's that?" Sarah asked. "Violence used to protect innocent people isn't evil. It's necessary. You humans taught the galaxy that lesson." Admiral Torres smiled. "We didn't mean to change everything, just did what felt right." At that moment, Lieutenant Morrison's voice came over the station's communication system. "Captain Chen, please report to the command center. We have a priority message from the Galactic Council." Sarah and her team walked quickly to the command center. The room was full of screens showing star maps and ship positions. Morrison was at his usual communication station. "What do we have, Lieutenant?" Sarah asked. Morrison looked excited. "Captain, it's Prime Minister Keth from the Galactic Council. He wants to speak with you personally." Sarah sat down in the command chair. "Put him through." The main screen showed the spider-like alien leader, but he looked different than before. He seemed less confident, less sure of himself. "Captain Chen," Prime Minister Keth said, "I am calling to discuss a proposal from the Galactic Council." "I'm listening," Sarah replied. "The Council has voted to create a new position. We want to make the Human Protection Fleet the official peacekeeping force for the galaxy. It would have the authority to stop attacks on innocent species anywhere." Sarah was surprised. "What changed your mind, Prime Minister?" Keth was quiet for a moment. "Everything has changed, Captain. 6 months ago, we received reports of attacks on peaceful species almost every day. Pirates, raiders, slavers. Reports have almost stopped. Because they're afraid," Admiral Torres said. "Yes," Keth admitted. "They're afraid of humans. Word has spread about what you did to the Krillians. Other aggressive species are thinking twice before attacking innocent people." Sarah stood up. "Prime Minister, we appreciate the offer. But we don't need official permission to protect innocent people. We'll keep doing it anyway." "I know," Keth said. "That's why we want to make it official. The galaxy needs species like humans. We need people who will fight for what's right, even when it's dangerous." After the call ended, Sarah walked back to the observation deck. She wanted to think about what the Prime Minister had said. Through the window, she saw something that made her smile. A small Valari child was playing with a human child in the station's park area. Their parents were watching them together, talking and laughing. 6 months ago, that Valari child might have been taken as a slave. Now, she was safe, playing with friends from another species. Admiral Torres joined Sarah at the window. "What are you thinking about?" "Thinking about how we got here," Sarah said. "It all started with one distress call. One group of innocent people who needed help. And now the whole galaxy is different," Torres said. Sarah nodded. "You know what I've learned? Sometimes the right thing to do is also the simple thing to do. When someone asks for help, you help them. When bullies hurt innocent people, you stop the bullies." A new voice came over the communication system. It was Morrison again. "Captain Chen, we're receiving a distress call from the frontier sector. A species called the Kindari is under attack by raiders. Sarah and Torres looked at each other and smiled. How far away? Sarah asked. For hours at maximum speed, Morrison replied. Sarah pressed the communication button. All ships, this is Captain Chen. We have people who need our help. Prepare for immediate departure. As Sarah walked toward the command center, she thought about how much the galaxy had changed. The Krillians stayed in their own territory now. Other aggressive species were afraid to attack weak civilizations. Peaceful species could travel and trade without fear. But most importantly, when someone sent out a distress call, they knew someone would answer. They knew the humans would come. The human protection fleet left Haven Station and jumped 2 faster than light speed. Behind them, the station continued its work of keeping the galaxy safe. Ahead of them, more innocent people needed help. And the humans would be there, just like they always were. In the months that followed, historians would write about this time as the Great Change. They would say it was the moment when the galaxy learned that the strong should protect the weak, not exploit them. But for Sarah Chen and her crew, it was much simpler than that. They had heard someone calling for help and they had answered. Everything else that happened was just the result of doing the right thing. The galaxy was still a dangerous place. There were still bad people who wanted to hurt innocent others. But now there was something new in the galaxy too. There was hope. And whenever that hope was threatened, whenever innocent people cried out for help, everyone in the galaxy knew the same thing would happen. The humans would come, and they would bring their firepower with them.